Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be talking about some new card reveals for the set Obsidian Flames. So basically, for Japan, these cards are going to be in starter decks, which unfortunately won't be in the West, and I say unfortunately because most of these cards are either pretty bland or just pretty bad overall, but they will still make up most of our main set, so they're not going to be like individual products or anything. They will just be, cards that you can pull from packs, which is kind of unfortunate in my opinion because it just means it's going to be more bulk and bland cards in the main set, really. But there is some mildly interesting ones to go over today, so at least there's that. But a lot of these are actually just reprints from previous sets as well. So if there is reprints, I doubt they will make it into our set. If there's different artwork, like this Armouge, I believe that is different artwork from the one that we got, then I'm guessing that that might be in our set or, saved for promo or something somewhere down the line. But either way, pretty underwhelming, I guess. But if we scroll all the way down, we can finally see the new cards that are going to be translated for us. So scroll all the way down here. And then, yeah, there's no new trainers or anything. Trainers are just ones that currently exist. But we see the new cards. We got a Rowlet Dartrix Decidueye EX line. This Decidueye EX is honestly super interesting because we do have to remember that Decidueye GX also exists and expanded, which will evolve from Rowlet as well. There's obviously the Decidueye from Darkness Ablaze as well. So there is several different Decidueyes that are pretty cool. So you could make this interesting Decidueye GX box and expanded maybe. I think that could be pretty cool, but unfortunately this card overall doesn't seem to be super strong. The ability Untethered is pretty cool, allowing you to freely move between the active and the bench, which is nice. Hunting Arrow, unfortunately, for one grass and a colorless only does 130 damage and then 30 snipe, which is pretty underwhelming to be honest. So I don't think this card is going to have really any impact on standard, but to be honest, this could make for a fun kind of toolbox deck and expanded. So, there's at least some decent merits there. Then we see a Abroliva line with the attack healing fruit to heal all damage from one of your bench Pokemon. Just super generic, seen this kind of attack before, never really been that good. Victini EX, unfortunately, nothing too crazy. 190 HP is unfortunately just way too small for this format, really. There's just so many Pokemon that can want to kill this. Maybe somewhere down the line, if we get, more HP modifiers as well as the Bravery Charm, then perhaps Victini EX could shine, but 220 really isn't a whole lot of damage. So, it's a lot of effort basically to just do 220. You're not really carrying anything aside from Chien-Pao, so yeah, kind of underwhelming. We got a Chandelure line, which is really unfortunate because I like Chandelure a lot as a Pokemon, but they don't always get the best cards. And Chain Burning is an attack we've seen many times before. 10 damage and 50 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Super generic, pretty bad to be honest. Even if your opponent has 3 energy, you're only doing 160, which honestly sounds like a lot of damage. Like 160 for 1 energy sounds really decent. But honestly, this day and age, really not that efficient because I know it sounds crazy, but it's just not that efficient being a stage 2. So you probably have to pair this up with something else, and it's just so much effort at that point. It could probably be like a fun rogue deck, maybe a nice little tech card and something, but yeah, definitely not the craziest attack. And of course, if they're only using 1 or 2 energy to attack anyway, then that's obviously really bad. So yeah, not too optimistic about the Chandelure. We've got a new Sharkadet, which has some lovely artwork. A Armouge, which... Okay, so this was just a new Armouge entirely. Okay, I got that wrong. So this one has the ability Incandescent Armor. It says if this Pokemon is the active spot and it's damaged by attack, the attacking Pokemon is now burned. Burned honestly isn't that great of a condition, only doing 20 damage between turns, and then there's a chance it can be removed. Pretty underwhelming to be honest. I think there is a couple of abilities like Pyroll that could increase burn damage, so that's decent at least, but 70 damage for 2 energy is obviously abysmal as well, so yeah, nothing too crazy unfortunately. We've got a Lapras with the attack Hail for 2 colorless, does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Super, super bad. We had a Tapu Koko in the Sun and Moon era that did the same attack, but it did 20 damage spread. And the difference between the Sun and Moon era and the Scarlet and Violet era is that Sun and Moon era, the Stage 2 GX Pokemon, had less HP than current Stage 1 EX Pokemon. And we also have multiple Pokemon that see play that have over 300 HP. So for the spread damage attackers to get worse just feels really, really bad. I know you can make the argument that maybe we're heading into an evolution heavy format, and so it kind of makes sense to reduce spread damage. But honestly, I don't agree with that fully as well because like basic Pokemon are just getting tankier. We've got stuff like Chien-Pao with 220, which is bigger than most Stage 1 GX. There's obviously like stuff like Fuecoco around that has 90 HP. Even like most basic Pokemon now have 70 HP options. Just seems really bad to be honest. I think Pokemon's kind of allergic most of the time to making good single browse attackers, especially when it comes to spread. But yeah, Hail Lapras, pretty bad. Got a Froakie, Frogadier, and then Greninja line. No water duplicates, unfortunately. But Greninja EX has 2 attacks, Stealthy Shuriken, 40 Snipe is whatever, and then Strong Stream Slash does 120 for 2 water energy, and if your opponent's active is already damaged, it does 120 more. So this is just Hisuian Samurott V-Star's attack, so no points for creativity there. But either way, Hisuian Samurott really hasn't done anything, and that's a stage 1. This is a stage 2, so it's twice as much effort. Now, admittedly, there is some like ups and downs. There's a couple of more like ups and downs. Like Hisuian Samurott, at the height of its power, had like Galarian Zigzagoon. It also had its V-Star power to buff damage. Greninja really doesn't have any of that. It has like Hawlucha maybe, and then you probably want to attack with something else beforehand. But otherwise, seems super bad. I guess you could use Radiant Greninja to set up some damage, but that seems kind of awkward at that point. You also have, what's it called? Thing that spreads damage. Radiant Blastoise. Yeah, that's another one. So there is some like decent options. There's also Irida, which is honestly the best argument you could make for wanting to play Greninja is Irida, because through Irida you could find Greninja and Rare Candy, so it's at least that bit more consistent. But honestly, for Stage 2 Water type EX, I'd much rather just wait until Pokemon Card 151 and play Blastoise. Blastoise honestly looks way better than this, so seems kind of underwhelming. Now, in Expanded, I think this card is a lot more interesting because, of course, there's the Greninja from Breakpoint with the Greninja Break from Breakpoint that places damage counters with its ability Giant Shuriken. So I think there's like a cool rogue deck to be had out of that, to be honest. Like you could play the Frogadier with water duplicates, it's just like the Curlier. You could also then just use Greninja with Mist Slash to deny abilities, as well as Greninja Break to place damage counters, and then try and attack with Greninja EX to finish stuff off. Honestly, that sounds like a pretty cool, funky rogue deck, and that would be a lot of fun to try out if it, Pokemon TCG Live actually adds full expanded. But either way, I think this Greninja is at least a bit interesting, but I don't think it's going to make too much of an impact in standard. Then we have a Wiglet, which is looking rather sad for some reason. Rain Splash, 10 damage, might be the reason why. Wugtrio, Tangle Squeeze, 50 damage during your opponent's next turn. Defending Pokemon can't retreat. Yep, just a pretty bad attack overall. Magnemite, nothing interesting. Magneton, nothing interesting. Magnezone, Magna Reject is the name of the first attack there. You may have your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their benched. It's okay, I guess. 170 HP is also pretty decent for a stage 2. Thunder, though, doing 180, then 30 to itself with 3 energy. Just kind of bad, to be honest. Tadbulb is here. Bellybolt is also just kind of here. Miraidon EX, unfortunately, is just significantly worse than the other Miraidon. You could make the argument that this one could be worth playing because I think it has slightly more HP than Pikachu EX, which also has free retreat. So you could make the argument that if you can squeeze in one extra copy of Miraidon EX, maybe you play this one. Also, Quick Draw isn't the worst attack in a pinch, and Techno Turbo does 150 and accelerates 190 energy, so it's not the worst card ever, but obviously this card feels pretty outclassed by the Miraidon EX that we currently have. Then we have the Clefairy, which is honestly outshadowed and outclassed really by the Clefairy from Lost Origin, I want to say, the one that accelerates energy to your bench Clefairy, which is pretty important to remember for Clefable EX, which has the ability Lunar Zone. It says your Pokemon that have any Psychic Energy attached to them have no retreat cost. And then Moon Magic does 170 for 3 Psychic, and you get to move around energy. So honestly, could be a pretty funky rogue deck with the Clefairy from Lost Origin to accelerate your energy. You could very easily get this powered up by turn 2. There's also the Clefable coming around in Pokemon Card 151 that does 50 damage for 3 Psychic Energy, but does say if you knock out a Pokemon, you get to take one more prize card. So if you're able to hit something with a Clefairy and then maybe a Clefable, and then they somehow survive that in the mid to late game, you could then Boss's Order it up or something, knock it out with a single prize Clefable. take an extra prize card, potentially win the game through that. So could definitely make a fun rogue deck out of this at least. Snubbull is okay. Gramble isn't doing anything. Definitely not the Gramble from Lost Thunder, that's for sure. Mawile is a bit like the Drifloon actually, 30 damage for each Psychic Energy attached to this Pokemon, I guess. That's okay, to be honest. It's not the worst modifier in the world, but God of War just has so many other options anyway, it's not really worth considering. This Crydon has Split Beam, does 20 damage, and then 20 damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon. I mean, Landorus in the Black and White era did 30 damage, and then 30 spread to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then Buzzwole with Jet Punch had a similar attack, but honestly, those cards were just so much better in their eras. I really just don't see this Crydon being that good, to be honest. Definitely seems a fair bit worse than those, as well as being worse than the Crydon EX that we currently have. Then we see a Drillbur, but no Exadrill, so I'm guessing it's going to be a Metal type. At least the artwork's nice, though. Got a Toedscool, which is kind of bland. Toedscruel, which is one of these flip 2 coins. For each head, you do 100 damage. Got a Paldean Wooper, which is kind of cute. Paldean Clodsire, oh, looks really sweet. Poison Ring, 20 damage, does poison, and they can't retreat, which is a bit annoying. And then Mudhammer for 3 energy does 100 damage, and you discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So, I mean, this is basically just another theme deck Pokemon, right? I mean, that's what most of these are, to be honest, is just theme deck Pokemon. It just kind of sucks that Pokemon discontinued that, because this is honestly stuff that's going to clog up packs and just not really do anything else, which kind of sucks. It's honestly even worse for GLC and stuff. It's definitely not going to see play there either, so yeah, pretty bad overall. We've got a Houndour, which is 70 damage for 3 energy, is actually kind of high for a basic. You know, it's on the same level of power as most of the stage 1s revealed. Houndoom EX, Wicked Claws, 90 damage. Defending Pokemon is a basic, can attack. And then Hound Fangs does 220 and 30 to itself. Not the worst in the world, but honestly kind of bland, to be honest. I think Noivern EX, as well as the Arbok EX, honestly just do what Houndoom does, but better. But I guess if you really are a major fan of Houndoom, then this isn't the worst card in the world. Skarmory is pretty bland. The Exadrill was just 60 damage, 1 Meta Energy. Oh, that sucks. Togedemaru is pretty bland. Meltan, pretty bland. Melametal EX, which is eerily similar to Dialga V-Star in many, many ways. Metal Absorption is basically the exact same attack as like Dialga V, I believe. And then Full Metal Knuckle does 90 damage for 4 colors, and 30 more for each Meta Energy attached to this Pokemon. So if you're a major fan of Dialga V-Star Magnezone, and you don't mind not having the amazing V-Star power that can essentially win you games by taking an extra turn, then I guess in the future there will be a way to continue playing that deck when Dialga eventually rotates out. I'm not sure if well, actually the Magnezone might just rotate out with Dialga. It's a good point actually. But maybe somewhere down the line we get some amazing wave accelerating Meta Energy, and this could be pretty decent, but honestly, it doesn't seem like anything too crazy. We've got a Dratini with no image. That's fine. We've got Dragonair, which is kind of meh. Dragonite EX, super unfortunate. I think when we heard that we were getting a Dragonite EX Terra type, we all thought it would be pretty good. Because, Dragonite is a fan favorite, and Pokemon like to play bias. But 330 HP, very tanky. Wing Attack, only doing 70 damage, 1 Colorless Energy. And then Meteor Break for 1 Lightning and a Water Energy. Does 140 and you get to flip a coin. And if heads, it does 140 more and you do 280, which is great. But if you get tails, the Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. So the can't attack thing is not really a problem. It's more so the fact that you just have to flip heads to do 280. Because obviously, like if this thing had done 280 for 2 energy, it would have been, maybe a bit too broken at that point. But just doing 140 and then relying on a coin flip to do more damage just feels super, super bad. Even if we got like a stadium that could manipulate coin damage, this just seems pretty bad, to be honest. Especially when you're not guaranteed to flip heads on the reflip. And it is a stage 2 needing 2 different energy. So, excuse me. Definitely not the greatest card in the world. I definitely don't think this will be seeing much play. We've got Drampa with another one of these outrage style attacks. Seen so many of these attacks lately throughout Sword and Shield on Taurus and such, so pretty bland and generic in that sense. We've got a Lillipup line with Stoutland, 50 damage for each colors in your opponent's active treat cost. We've seen attacks like these before, they don't really do anything. Ordino is just theme deck Pokemon. Buffalont is pretty generic. Squirvet, kind of generic. Greedent EX admittedly has a pretty interesting attack in the form of Get Greedy. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put those cards into your hand or discard them and then draw 3, which is, to be honest, pretty interesting. And it's nice that they're at least experimenting with different attacks like this. But Foolish Rolling 210 during an extra turn this Pokemon can attack is just super generic, to be honest. Also, Oinkologne is a bit better than this because its first attack does damage for 1 colorless energy. So it's much easier to try and get Chern Scare loops involved, whereas Greedent, it's more difficult, needing 3 colors. So yeah, I don't have much faith in Greedent EX to do anything, but at least the first attack could be interesting in some kind of control deck. Lechonk, with its ears blowing in the wind, very cute. Oinkologne is not really doing anything. Yeah, 160 for 3 colors is actually quite a lot, but flip a coin of tails, 60 to itself, yeah. And you're not hitting anything for weakness, so yeah, pretty bad. But yeah, this has been Ember Power. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about these reveals down below, and I hope we see you next time. Thank you for watching.